Hello friends, it's Erin Ware, and I have a January in review video for you today, largely concerning my journals. So, okay, well, I'm just gonna get right into it. I feel like there's a lot to talk about, and I don't want it to be an incredibly long video, so I have brought the most important things, the things that I'm in most often or that are most shareable, I guess. I have a couple other things that might qualify as journals, like for instance, my morning pages and my 5-year journal, and yeah, stuff like that that you don't really need to see. Those are also happening, but in January, I have had a lot of things going on, like just a lot of stuff, the kind of stuff that throws you off track. And I've been able to journal quite a bit. Now, part of that is because my evenings have been very slow and calm because I am quite pregnant and tired. And so I'll usually go. I'm still a night owl, so I don't go to sleep early necessarily, but I do get in bed, and I've been journaling in bed like a whole lot. And that has helped. And so most of this, I did it in bed. So I have a whole setup back there, and it's very comfy, but it's not always the easiest place to journal, like when you're sitting at a desk. But I also have this very large stomach right now that is keeping me from being very comfortable at a desk too. So it's, whatever. It's one or the other. I still have this belly to contend with. So, okay. So what do I start with? This is more of an honorable mention. This is my daily planner, like my family planner that I keep appointments in, and I don't know what that is. I keep appointments in here, birthdays, that sort of thing, and just like normal daily stuff that's happening with my family. But I also, after the fact, I write things down that happened, just very brief notes on the day to just make a note of things that I might want to journal about later, or just might want to remember. So this helps me with these other things, especially this one and my 5-year journal. So I just wanted to make a note. It's not exactly a journal, but it is. It's like hybrid planner journal. Let's talk about this first. At the beginning of the year, I had this set up differently, and it was the same as I had it set up as last year, which was some kind of, without trying, I don't want to get too deep into it, but it was like another type of creative journaling where I was keeping track of these sort of more creative thoughts that I was having, and doing kind of collage type things in here. And I removed those inserts. I had 2 inserts in here, one main one that I was working in, and I just felt like when the year turned and I started settling into January, it just seemed like I was done with that, even though the insert wasn't finished. The type of journaling that I was doing in there and the purpose of it, a lot of that was kind of moving into here, like the same, not completely the same, but enough that I could definitely do the same thing in here, plus other things. But what I did want is I have long form journaling going on in my morning pages, and sometimes I have this other notebook that I write things in sometimes, but I didn't have I don't know what to, just a journal where I could explore these deeper thoughts that I was having in a way that was beautiful and exercised a little bit of a different creative muscle than this. So it's like I want to show you them at the same time so you can see the difference, but you'll see what I mean, I think. So this is more of a written journal. I write things in here, but I also work on, just for fun, just making it look pretty. So I don't do this every day. This is something that I have just done. I think I started this insert on the 15th of January. So I've just had it for, I don't know, what is that, 2-3 weeks? And I just sometimes write about things and then, make it look nice. And it's just a very comforting place for me to be. And these kinds of thoughts, these longer form writing, more like definitely more thoughtful journaling, doesn't fit so much in here because this is totally different. So this is still also a work in progress where I am still figuring out what it is, but it's going really well and I'm really happy with it. I have spent the last few days, probably about a week actually, filling in all the gaps. So I haven't kept up with it daily, but what I did is at the end of January, toward the end of January, I started catching up on some of the pages. And I'll show you how I did that. It's not like backlogging and there's a little bit of that, but it's mostly just filling it up however I want to fill it up. And I don't care so much about dates unless there's something important that happened that day. Most of the time it's more of like an essence of January or like just what was generally happening in January. And I don't pay that much attention to the actual day. So this is a Midori one day, one page that I bought in 2022 and kind of started to use a little bit in 2022. And then subsequently after, I was trying to use it as like a perpetual journal where I could just have the days of the year, like the dates written down, but the year was not important and I could just fill things in. For instance, I'll just show you, like here in 2023, there was a hurricane here, Hurricane Idalia. And there's some random things. There's just a couple memories that I stuck in here. And that was that. Obviously, I didn't do that much and I could never get that quite off the ground. So I didn't want this to go to waste. I hated the cover, so I took it off and I made it into a hardback, cloth bound. If you want to see how I did that, I did make a tutorial that's on Patreon for like my paid members. And because it's such a big book and it's hardback, which honestly helps me a lot when I'm journaling in bed because I have something to bear down on. It's really nice. I've been just kind of jokingly in my head referring to it as my desk reference because it's so big. And so that's what I've named it. I haven't quite sorted all this out. I'm sure I will add to these pages. To cover up the year-long calendars from 22 and 23, I just painted on it. And then here's where I'm keeping up with reading. This is from December. And last month I read, I think 5 books. And then I also finished a series that I didn't really keep track of because it was cute. It was kind of a mess. It's by A.K. I don't know what that is. Caggiano, maybe? Villains and Virtues, Thrown in the Dark is the first book. It's very silly and fun, and I loved it, except it also went like off the rails and the second and third book were a mess kind of in plot. And so I wasn't quite sure if I was going to finish it, and I didn't keep track of when I was reading it. I was reading it on my phone. So I don't know if I read 1, 2, or 3 of these books in January, but I did finish it. I recommend it if you don't mind following a very wild path, I mean, if you can like hang on, then it's cute. And let's see, I read The Baby on the Fire Escape, which is a book about motherhood and art, roughly art making, or it's called Creativity, Motherhood, and the Mind Baby Problem. And Julie Phillips wrote about women who were mothers, especially in like mid-century, mid 20th century. Like I want to say roughly they were mothers in like the 30s to the maybe 60s, 70s. I can't remember. 80s even maybe was maybe the latest she wrote about. And obviously some of that was like a very different time. And a lot of the book was kind of heartbreaking in the way that, both in the way that these women were treated sometimes, and also the way that they treated their children sometimes, honestly, like made me a little bit upset, and I lost some respect for some people. But I will say that like she wrote about Ursula K. Le Guin, and I just have so much respect for her, and I love her even more now, knowing how, like, what kind of a mother she was while she was busy writing her books. And because I'm a mother and I'm an artist, and oftentimes those things are like hard it's hard to find a balance there. It was an interesting book for me to read. And so if you're interested in that kind of thing, you might want to check it out. Let's see what else. I read Sinner's Welcome, which is a book of poetry by Mary Carr, one of my favorite writers. And Emily Henry's funny story was really quite cute. I liked that one a lot. I gave it 4 stars. I read Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor, which I thought was okay. I gave it 3 stars, not great. And then Academy for Liars was by Alexis Henderson. I read it mostly because it's set in Savannah, and that's where I live. And I was a little bit disappointed by the description of Savannah. I mean, it was okay, but it was like not... It could have been better. And it was more horror than I was expecting, which I should have been expecting that, knowing probably the description of the book and probably the other books that she's written are more like horror. It was okay, but it wasn't like my cup of tea. And I just felt like some of the plot was... It was just... I think I wasn't really sure exactly who I was rooting for or why, and what there was something missing for me. It was an entertaining, like I kept reading it and I'd read it and so it was fine, but I'm just not sure I was the right audience for it, I think. So that's what I read in January. And yes, got started on February. So, okay, so the daily pages. So my son was in the hospital until January 2nd. He had an emergency appendectomy. And so we got out on the 2nd, and I started working on this, and I already felt like kind of behind when I got to this. And I think I started out very tight. These first 2 pages, I felt like I was trying to get things down. I was doing daily journaling. I was like, okay, this is what happened, and I'm going to like write it all down, and I'm going to make these spots, and I'm going to capture all these things. And I got to here, and I was like, I'm not having fun in this. This is not really what I wanted this to be. So this was left almost blank for a while, and I came back and filled some of this in more recently. And then I got to here, and I was like, I made like a manifesto. I was like, this is not happening. I'm not going to do this. This illustration of my journal is from 2022. This is my like comfort carry. It's like what I leave in my bag. It's not really an everyday carry in the sense that a lot of people say, because it's not a wallet. It's not my main calendar. It's just a notebook that I keep in my bag, and I find it very comforting. I really love it. So this is like when I got this, I painted it. And so this was already here, and I just wrote on this page what I wanted this journal to be, because I had already like, just kind of derailed as far as what I really was hoping for, and started getting into that trap of like, it has to be like this, like I need to write things down that happened on that day, and it's, I don't know, got to look a certain way. I don't know. So I wrote kind of more what I wanted it to be, how I wanted it to feel, and I just wanted to feel free and fun and like an opportunity. The reason I wanted to try daily pages is because I wanted to have the opportunity to use a page every day. For me, it can feel like pressure, but it can also feel like it can also feel like an invitation to just use the page. It doesn't need to be forced. It just can be like welcoming, like, here, use up this page, use it as scrap paper, use it to draw a quick sketch, use it to swatch things out. It doesn't matter. It's just an invitation. And I find that when I have that invitation, like for instance, when I'm in something like this that's not dated, I have a tendency to hoard pages for some reason, even though I hardly ever finish a notebook. But I still hoard pages, and I still feel like, oh, I don't want to use too many on this. And what happens if I run out? And I have this sense within me, even without actually thinking about it, that's the way that I feel. And when I have a daily page, it's like I have to use it. And it inspires something in me to like use it up. So that's why. It doesn't always work out that way. But I'm trying. I'm getting better at it. So yeah, on this page, I just swatched a bunch of my, these are watercolor pencils and Inktense pencils that I have. I was just kind of getting a sense for how things work on this paper. And honestly, Midori paper is the best. It like basically handles everything like a pro. Very few things bleed through in here. The only thing that I've found that really bleeds through sometimes is my Sachihara black ink pad. That bleeds through just a tiny bit, which you can kind of see. This is the gray one. I think it bleeds a teeny tiny bit too. But I mean, it's just this like slightest. It's not bad. But yeah, everything else works great. So, yep, that's what that is. I came back, I think, and added some of these things later. I just made a spread for January things, which was just a place for me to kind of put down some things that I was working on, thinking about, just things from this month. It had to do with working on stuff that I had goals in January to complete things. I didn't really complete what I wanted to, but I worked on these things. So, and I thought a lot about them in January. I did submit some patterns to the Uppercase Surface Design Guide for, I'll find out in March if I got into it. And then I had like a quarterly intensive thing, with a group that I'm a part of, an afternoon of working on some business deep thinking things. And then we had some snow days. So just, I don't know, just things. This palette was already here from 2022. And so I just added a poem that I love. And I basically write this poem in every journal that I begin. I love this poem so much. It's called Initiation Song by Ursula K. Le Guin. It's called Initiation Song from the Finder's Lodge, and I think that's because it comes from a book, which I have not read, and it's a poem from the book, from like the people in the book, if that makes sense. I need to read it. I haven't read that book yet. I drew this flower and then didn't really know what to put inside of it for a long time, and I eventually just added this Post-it note and a couple of my printables just to fill it in a little bit. This I did kind of for my patrons, definitely for myself. It's something that I'm trying to do where I just make notes of things that I find inspiring. This is from a children's book illustrated by Allison Martin Provenson, called A Visit to William Blake's Inn. And I just love these stars, and so I kind of copied them. It's not an exact copy, but it's like a copy, and it was just fun to do, and some part of that will kind of immerse itself into my visual vocabulary that I will use when I make art. So I won't directly copy them in the future in my own artwork, but it's like things seep through and my hands learning shapes and things, and I just find it really great practice. This is another drawing that I was looking at something and inspired by it, and it's not a copy, but it's like I was inspired by something to make a telephone wire cord, the kind of cords we had when I was growing up. This quote is really funny to me, so I'll read it to you. It's from that book, The Baby on the Fire Escape. For every mother celebrating her difference, there's an agent of the motherhood police ready to let her know she's out of line. I just thought it was funny because it's true. Yeah, okay. This is another page where I was copying from that same book. I just had some archways in it that I really liked, so I drew those, and then I wrote some quotes after the fact. I wrote some quotes down inside of the arches. This is just an old grocery list from like Christmas time that I just stuck in here. Yeah. I did some swatching with my Tombow markers, inspired always by Dylan Mierzwinski, who by Dylan M on Instagram, and she's always making swatches with her Tombows, and I am always amazed by her swatch pages. And I tried to do something, but I'm way more impatient, I guess, because they don't look anything like her swatch pages. And I mean, it was kind of fun, and it's pretty, but it's not neat and tidy like hers. And I'll probably try again at some point. I also don't use Tombows like her. Like, a lot of people love using Tombows to make art and things, and I just don't. I'm more of a painter. I just don't. Markers and I don't get along as well as paint. So, but I am trying, especially with this journal. It's like just a place to play with things I don't normally use. This is I just made this. It was fun, almost like Zentangle type of thing, where it's like a meditative, like I just drew some lines and shapes and colored them in, and that was that. And then I just wrote a little bit here. This is that same day, I was just like, this is a nice color palette. And so I just drew some flowers. This page feels a little unfinished to me, so I could come back and like maybe write something, or I don't know, or it might stay just like this. I don't know. I wrote another poem here, and this is one of my printables. This page is not my favorite, but it's okay. It's good enough. So this was the uppercase submission I mentioned before. I worked on some patterns to submit them, and so then I just printed out those patterns and printed them. I just said that, didn't I? I printed them out and put them in here to just, keep track of what I actually did. And one of them didn't fit, so I had 7, which is a strange number, but I had 7, and one went here. And then we had snow in Savannah. I know a lot of people had snow, but we had snow in Savannah. We never have snow. This, I think, is supposed to be removed. I put these in here when I was trying to finish pages. Yeah, so I wrote about Snow Day because that was special. We actually had snow stay on the ground for 3 days, which seriously is unheard of here. We don't ever have snow. This is just like a random assortment of things, and I liked how it looked, so I didn't even come back, and I put this here, but I kind of think it's finished just the way it is. I like it. These are just like things that I've found around my desk, and then this is from a magazine, and these are printables from my Patreon, and this is a little printable from Susanna Bryant, which these are hers too, and hers are mixed in. I should have said that before, but there's several in here. Actually, I should have mentioned that. These two, these. I've had a lot of fun with her printables lately. On this weekend, I worked so hard on cleaning out my closet and organizing all of my sewing stuff and knitting supplies. So that's like a big, like I remember very, like it was a mess. It was a long day of sorting out all that stuff. And a very lazy Sunday, but I did get a new coffee maker, and we got hamburgers and french fries. So I used that cute. Look at how cute that is. It's so cute. And then, so I don't think I really had anything down here. So I had made these prompts for my patrons, and I used one of them on this date. In fact, I might have published them or like given them to my patrons on this date, the 27th, but I'm not sure about that. Maybe that sounds late. But anyways, I kind of answered it. I kind of did my prompt here just to fill in some space, and that was nice. This day I worked on a pattern. I was making it analog, like with papers cut out and moving those cards around to match. And so I was like writing down my repeat. I'm sorry if that doesn't make sense, but it's just a way of making a pattern where you just use pieces of paper that line up almost like a puzzle. And the way that I was putting them together was a half drop repeat, which means it goes down just half instead of like full, or like lining up like, yeah, I don't know if that I don't know if that's translating, but it was just like notes on what I was doing creatively that day. And then this was a very busy, very, very full day of doing all kinds of things. I did a lot of work stuff, and then I did a lot of housework stuff. And so I made some notes about that. And then on this day, it was a very lazy day. I just find that's the way things are going. I'll get like a boost of energy to get a bunch of stuff done, and then I have to like rest the whole day following. But I got some happy mail from Nico Neko. I ordered some things, and mostly stamps. So I put some stamps on the page to try them out. And I got this washi tape from there, which is very pretty. And then the last day of January, which I do think that this is unfinished. I need to come back and write some more things in here, but on the last day of January, I gave a printable to my patrons, but also the free members of my Patreon, because it was my 3rd year being on Patreon in January, and I wanted to do something special for like my patrons and for people who just found me. I just wanted to share the love a bit. So I made these flowers. They're available on Patreon. If you sign up to be a free member, they're there to download. And obviously, if you sign up to be a paying member, there's a whole lot more, a whole lot more like printable type stuff. But I wanted to commemorate that. So I just put a whole bunch of those flowers down on this page. And then that night, because it was a Friday, my husband took my kids to see Dogman and the movie, and my son keeps drawing these little guys, and so I cut one out and put him down here, but I want to write more about that. So, and then this begins February. I was just gonna make a list of some things for February, just like things that are kind of like the January things, but like this February things, goals maybe, things to think about. And I won't talk too much about this until my February review, but I'm trucking along in there. So that's that. That's my journaling so far. I have really enjoyed it since I got loose and more free, since I decided that I can do whatever I want, since I can just like draw a big picture or just, you know, paste things down. Yeah, since I gave myself more freedom, I've been having a lot of fun, and I'm so looking forward to having this filled up at the end of the year. I haven't done a journal like this this particular style of journaling, I guess, since maybe 2021, 22, maybe, but yeah, it's been a while, and I think it's gonna be really cool. So that's that. I feel like I rushed through it, but hopefully it made sense and it was enjoyable to watch. I hope you're well. How did your January go? And is your journaling going well? We're like 6 days into February now, something like that, and it just, I don't know, the year is just moving along. I think having a baby coming makes the time kind of speed up a little bit. At least that's how I feel about it. I know January also felt interminable at the same time somehow, even to me. So I'll let you go. I hope you're well. I love you. Goodbye.